Welcome back to Lions News Fan Report, where we bring you the latest and most exciting sports news every single day. And today, we're diving into a storyline that might not be on everyone's radar yet, but trust me, it's the kind of quiet development that can ripple through a franchise and shape its trajectory for years to come. Because while most people are focusing on the flashy skill positions, Detroit might be locking in on something much more foundational. And maybe, just maybe, they're about to pull the trigger on a move that could reshape their offensive line for the future. What if I told you the Lions are quietly circling one of the most intriguing offensive tackle prospects in the entire 2025 draft class? And what if I told you his name is Josh Simmons? Now, the moment you mention that name in scouting circles, there's a ripple. Simmons is one of those players that doesn't scream elite from the stat sheet alone. But when you dig a little deeper, when you turn on the film, when you watch the tape from his time at Ohio State, especially before the injury, you realize you might be looking at a future cornerstone of an NFL offensive line. And guess who's been doing their homework? The Detroit Lions. There have been quiet murmurs, subtle signs, and growing speculation that Brad Holmes and the front office have their eyes firmly on Simmons. And the more you look at it, the more it makes sense. The question is, are the Lions about to make a low-key draft day move that will pay off in massive dividends? Or are they simply playing the long game, gathering data in case Simmons slips further than expected due to health concerns? Let's unpack all of it, because this could be one of those classic Brad Holmes chess moves, one that looks subtle now, but turns into a masterstroke 2 seasons from today. So let's start here. Josh Simmons is 6'5", 317 pounds, and has started on both the left and right side of the offensive line during his college career. That alone is a rare trait. Positional flexibility is gold in today's NFL, especially when you're building a line that needs to adapt week to week. But Simmons' story isn't just about versatility, it's about potential. It's about what he could become if put in the right system, with the right coaching staff, and given time to get fully healthy. And that's exactly why Detroit might be the perfect landing spot. Let's be honest, the Lions don't have an immediate need at tackle. They've got Penei Sewell, who's arguably the best right tackle in the entire league. That's not up for debate. His tape is violent, he's consistent, and he's become the emotional engine of this offense. On the other side, Taylor Decker is still getting it done. He's been the face of the line for years, and he's coming off a Pro Bowl nod. But Decker's going to be 32 before this season starts. That's not old by NFL standards, but it's not young either, and you can bet the Lions are thinking about what comes next, even if they're not saying it out loud. That's where Simmons enters the picture. He's the kind of player who doesn't need to start right away. He could come in, sit behind Decker, get healthy, learn from a vet, work with Hank Fraley, who, by the way, is one of the most respected offensive line coaches in the league, and slowly build toward a starting role by year 2 or 3. And isn't that exactly the kind of situation you want for a guy recovering from a patellar tendon tear? Let's talk about that injury. It's a tough one. No sugarcoating it. Patellar tendon injuries can rob a player of explosiveness and flexibility. But the timeline for Simmons suggests he could be back to full speed by training camp, or at the very least, mid-season. And the Lions don't need him to rush. They're one of the few teams in the NFL that can afford to draft a player with top-tier upside and simply stash him while he gets right. And now here's what's really interesting. Detroit has a history of making moves like this. Think back to when they drafted Jameson Williams. The injury didn't scare them. The potential was too great. They were patient, and while it hasn't all clicked just yet, that mindset shows us something important. This front office isn't afraid to bet on the long term. Now imagine doing that with a trench player. Imagine Simmons coming in, slowly ramping up, working on technique, gaining strength, and eventually stepping in as Decker's successor. And here's the real kicker. What if he's even better than Decker in 2 years? That's the kind of return on investment that turns good teams into great ones. Now let's look at what Simmons did on the field before the injury. This wasn't some rotational guy. This was a player who logged serious minutes, showed a smooth kick slide, strong anchor, and the ability to mirror edge rushers with fluidity. He's not a mauler in the run game like Belton from NC State, but he has that technician's touch. The kind of player who wins with his mind as much as his hands. And it's not just the film. NFL scouts have taken notice. Simmons was rising on draft boards last fall, before the injury hit. He was projecting as a potential second-round pick. With the setback, he might slide to the 3rd or even 4th. And that's where Detroit could strike. Could the Lions package a couple mid-round picks to move up into the early 3rd and snag him before someone else does? Could they use one of their extra picks from past trades to secure him and redshirt him, just like they did with Giovanni Manu? Speaking of Manu, let's talk about that. Manu is another wild card in this entire situation. The Lions drafted him last year from the University of British Columbia, knowing he was raw. They redshirted him, gave him time, let him grow. Now reports say he's being tested out at guard. That could mean two things. One, they don't see him as a long-term tackle. Or two, they want him to be versatile depth, the sixth man on the line, someone who can plug and play at multiple spots. Either way, it opens the door for someone like Simmons to slot in as the next heir apparent to tackle. Now here's where things get spicy. If Simmons hits, if he lives up to his pre-injury potential, you suddenly have a succession plan for Decker. Or better yet, leverage. Imagine a world where Sewell and Simmons are your starting tackles in 2026. Both young, both athletic, both under team control. That's a dream for any GM. That's how you sustain offensive success for a decade. And even if Simmons doesn't develop into a top-tier tackle, his ability to play both sides gives you insurance. What if Sewell gets dinged up? What if you need to rotate? What if you want to keep Decker fresh? Simmons could become the most valuable sixth lineman in the NFL. And that's worth more than most people realize. So now the question becomes, is Brad Holmes thinking this far ahead? Based on his track record, it wouldn't be surprising. He's always playing the long game, always looking for value. And Simmons, right now, might be the steal of the draft. You just have to be patient. You have to believe in the upside. You have to bet on recovery and on a system that can develop him. And let's be real, if there's any team in the league that has earned a right to take that kind of swing, it's Detroit. They've rebuilt this roster the right way. From the trenches out, they've got one of the best offensive lines in football. Adding Simmons doesn't just maintain that dominance, it extends it. So, could it actually happen? Are the Lions preparing to bring Josh Simmons to the Motor City? We don't know for sure. There's no confirmation. But the signs are there. The need might be subtle, but it's real. The opportunity is perfect. The timing makes sense. And if Simmons is still on the board in the third or fourth round, don't be surprised if you see that card come in with his name on it. But what do you think about all of this? Should the Lions take a chance on Josh Simmons? Is he worth the medical risk? Or would you rather see them go with someone safer, maybe a guy like Urzuri or Trapilo, who have cleaner injury histories but perhaps lower ceilings? Personally, I love the move. I think this is the kind of smart, forward-thinking decision that wins championships. You don't wait until there's a hole on your roster. You fill it before it exists. You get the guy with the tools. You give him time. You trust your development pipeline. And in 2 years, you've got a potential star at a premium position. I can't wait to read your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know. Are you all in on Simmons? Or are you more cautious with this draft class? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Lions News Fan Report, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. We've got more draft coverage coming, more player breakdowns, and plenty of Lions news headed your way. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Lions!